Hello and welcome back to the Let's Glow Show. It's Amanda Sweet, the Creative Fairy Godmother, and we are back this week with another creative entrepreneur doing amazing things in their community. This particular young woman has skyrocketed since the day we met, which was not very long ago, like late 2023.
Yeah.
But so many good things coming. Isabel Vitale, co-founder and CEO of SIV or SIV Care. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Okay, so tell the world who you are. What is it, SIV or SIV?
Yeah, so actually everyone says it differently.
I
And
know.
whatever you guys want to say is fine. I always say Civ because the name originated as skin IV. And so that's kind of what it stands for. So like I wanted to make something super effective, like an IV, but for your skin. Also, my initials are IV, right? And then
Okay,
I was
got
like,
it.
skin. So
It makes sense.
EV.
I heard it recently, SIV, and I was like,
Mhm.
I think it's SIV, but I was like, let me just double check because,
Yeah.
once
No,
something catches
it
on.
goes either way, and, like, people feel very strongly about it, like, they're like, "No, it's Civ. No, it's SIV." And I'm like, "Okay,
You know
whatever you
what? That's
guys
a
wanna
good
do."
thing though. That's good for your
Yeah,
brand. That's good for business. Like,
yeah.
I mean, okay, so how long officially have you been launched?
So, officially, we launched in October. So, I started building the company in 2021. I
Okay.
came to Bamboo in 2022, right,
Yep.
in the summer, and then we launched in October of 2023.
And now
So
you're like blowing up all over the place, everywhere, doing all these amazing things. It's so exciting to see. And I just want the world to know about you. I'm like, we have a skincare expert. I've been calling my husband asked me, he's always like, who are you glowing with this morning? And I'm like,
oh my
a
god.
skin scientist. And he was like, what's that? I was like, you gotta watch the episode. But when
Amazing.
I think of you, I think of like science and biology and like much more than just like, oh, I do skincare products. Like
Yeah.
it's very like technical feeling, which I'm
Mhm.
excited for because I feel like I've always struggled with my skin, and I feel like the answers are all over the place. I know you're not like what is the word? Dermatologist, I don't
Mhm.
think.
No.
But I feel like there's a lot of crap out there and everybody's like, you got to do this, you got to do that, and it's just very
Yeah.
confusing and overwhelming. Like I feel like skincare early 2000s was
Mhm.
like very like just soap and water and
Yeah.
lotion, and
No,
that's it.
it's gone a very, interesting way, and there is a lot out there, especially with, like, TikTok and Instagram, like, all of these, like, trends that are happening. There is a lot of misguided information that maybe it'll work for some people, but, like, it doesn't work for the majority, especially for people who have very sensitive or acne prone or dermatitis prone skin. All it's gonna do is create more issues, it's gonna erode your barrier, and that's something that we really try and focus on is, like, barrier health and nourishing the skin and nourishing the barrier, because another very common trend or issue, that often happens is that people are too harsh on their skin, they're over exfoliating, they're using too many products, so, like, a lot of times, you hear that, like, old trope of, like, "Oh, if it doesn't burn, it's not working," and it's like, that is not true. I'm like, "Yeah, it's working on something that you don't want."
Right, right.
And
Oh my
so we
gosh.
like to focus on that repair and bringing things back to natural, like, more simple is better. You don't need this 12-step crazy routine in order to have the healthiest skin.
That's such a relief.
No,
That's
I
such a
know,
relief. And
right?
I feel like I recently like went down a hole just because I'm getting older. I'm 34 years old, and in a couple episodes ago, we were talking with Andrea, who's like her whole purpose is about like midlife and changing
Mm,
and bringing community together around that. And we were talking about wrinkles and we're talking about like our skin aging and changing. And my skin is not the same as it was when I was like 20 something. And I'm like, okay, do I need to like completely dismantle everything that I know and then start over? And of course, now I'm on like aging skincare TikTok. And they're
yeah,
like,
right,
you need to
yeah.
get this, this, this,
It's like
this, this. And
it's
I'm
like,
like,
dude, the 27% retinol, and it's like, yo, that's that's way too much. They don't even make that, by the way, because it's like,
Toxic.
yeah, it's a lot.
So how, before we get into skincare,
Yeah.
how did you get into skincare? Like, where did this journey come from?
So right out of college, so I graduated in PR and advertising. So
That
nothing
makes a lot
science
of sense.
related, nothing like anything medical, any of that. So I graduated PR and advertising, and then right out of college, I got a job working at L'Oreal. And so that was kind of my like foray into skincare. I worked for CeraVe, which is a
Mm-hmm.
great brand. I love them. And so my job was to go in and out of pediatrician offices. So I was in the pediatric sector, and I would talk to pediatricians about skin health and childhood skin health and all these things. And what I was consistently seeing is that there was an overload of these inflammatory conditions. So eczema was so rampant in these little babies. And it was really heartbreaking to see because eczema is itchy and it's flaky and it burns and it's red and they don't know what's going on. Like they're like having a fit. The poor parents are like at their wits' end, like they don't know what to do for this child. And so I kept seeing this over and over. Also, like baby acne too was like pretty
Mm.
common. And so I started thinking about, and I also have my own skin issues, like in college, I didn't have any skin issues in high school, which was great. And then in
Yeah.
college, I wake up like 2 years into college and my face is like exploding. And I'm like, what is happening?
That's what happened to me. I was like, no acne. I was very lucky, like all
Mhm.
throughout like middle school, high school. And then the second I got to college, it was like overload, overbearing. And then I'm like a new adult and I'm like, I've never had this issue before.
Exactly. Like I was
Now
I was
what?
like having an identity crisis. Like I look in the mirror and I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't know who this is. Like this is not my face. I
Right.
never had this. So
Right.
I was like going through that whole thing, like freaking out, trying to find these products that would help me, and nothing did. It's just like making it worse. Like I was the one over here like over exfoliating, like breaking down my barrier, just making it worse. So I started researching, and I was always into, the health and fitness, and so I knew about the gut microbiome, which
Mhm.
is the collection of bacteria that's in our gut that controls like much of the functioning throughout our body, and our immune system is heavily
Mhm.
found in the gut. And so you may have heard of like probiotics,
Mhm.
right? And so you take a probiotic for your gut microbiome. So I was listening to a podcast and I heard about this skin microbiome. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know the skin had a microbiome,
Right.
let alone like, what is this? Like, so I started like looking into that and I was like, I wonder if the skin microbiome controls as many functions on the skin as the gut microbiome controls in our body. And
Hmm.
it turns out it does. I mean, it controls a huge part of the way that our skin functions.
Hmm.
And, I didn't think it was a coincidence that all of these inflammatory conditions are popping up right after COVID, right after
Hmm.
everything went antibacterial, right?
Right.
We're cleaning
Right.
everything, everything was disinfectant, we were staying away from each other, which, human contact is a big way that our skin microbiome kind of changes and alters, and, like, the people that we live in our house with, will share microbes with them as well. We're a very social species, and the
Absolutely.
microbiome just kind of, exemplifies that in the way that it's able to adapt to our surroundings and adapt to the other, like, ecological or biological beings around it.
Hmm.
Um And so I started researching. I find that it really controls a lot of our skin and how it functions. And then so I started to look for products, and I was like, I did not set out to make a product. I
Right.
started to look for products, and I was like, all right, somebody's got to be on this, you know. So I started to look, and there really was nothing out there. Like it was very very like not it was not developed, that sector of the
Mm.
market whatsoever. Many of the products out there were marketing like probiotic, but they had no living organism in it, which by definition, it has to be a living organism in order to be called a probiotic.
Hmm.
Um, otherwise it's like a ferment or a lysate or something like that, a postbiotic, which are quite common in skincare. We don't
What
label them.
is what does that mean? So like I know what the probiotic is, but you
Mhm.
said another word and I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So ferments, lysates, and postbiotics are all like dead organisms that are the byproduct of a probiotic. So
Mm,
you put the probiotic on, and you take the probiotic, and that's making other compounds. And so these other
okay.
compounds are referred to as like ferments, lysates, and postbiotics. Like a ceramide is an example of a postbiotic. And
And so
ceramides
what
are
does that
found in
do?
our skin. And so they help to nourish the skin, they help to build the barrier to an extent, but they don't actually change the bacteria. So if the
Mm,
bacteria are making like, if they're not doing your skin any favors, these postbiotics, these lysates are not acting on the bacteria. They may be acting on your physical barrier, which is fine. But if
mm-hmm.
you're looking for something that's probiotic or something that is bacteria based, you would expect it to really interact with that skin bacteria because that's what's really going to make the biggest difference on your skin, right? Changing the composition and changing the way that those postbiotics, even changing the postbiotics themselves that are being made, right?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. I
Yeah,
feel
there
like my
is.
brain. Okay, so like
It's
you were not
amazing.
in skincare. You found yourself surrounded by these challenges and issues and personal ones. And like you sound when I talk to you, you sound like a scientist. Like I'm like, how? Like how did you learn all of this? Was this all self-taught, self-research? Like what were the tunnels that you obviously went down like a rabbit hole for a
Oh
long
yeah.
time?
Oh yeah. I
So
did.
how did you
I really it is self-taught. I'm somebody who loves to like know things. Like my mom always jokes with me and says like you are such a researcher. Like you are someone who just like I just like to know things.
yeah.
And when I find something that's interesting, I am able to like read through the information and then retain it very well. And it's just I really fell in love with it. I thought it was so interesting, like this thing that I didn't even know was existing on our skin, this community of microbes that it's I mean, we're really like a host to the microbes. Like, especially like even in
I
our
have
gut, like
chills.
when we eat, like the microbes are what are eating. Like it's there's no physical way for us to eat it. It's the microbes. The microbes control all of these different functions and they all talk to each other. So like the skin microbes talk to the gut microbes. That's why you hear of like why skin health starts in the gut. Like that's true because those microbes are talking to the skin microbes and then the skin microbes are operating in a certain way that's causing a reaction on the skin and it's all connected and
Oh my
it's
gosh.
such an exciting time for microbiology and for this microbiome stuff to come to light because we're able now to really dive into what's going on at that level. We're really able to dive into kind of like the different species that are going on or what makes it healthy and everyone's
Mm,
is so unique as well. We only
right.
have a certain amount of genes, but we have like 30 times more bacterial cells than we have genes. So I know on the skin, it's like it's one skin cell to 30 bacterial cells. So
Oh my gosh.
we are actually more bacteria than we are like human.
Like that freaks me out, but also because you're so excited makes me excited.
Yeah.
Like because I'm like I'm leaning on people like you because I'm not a researcher. I'm a
Mhm.
intuition. I lead with my gut biome. Like
That's good. And there's
I'm like
actually something real to that. That is
okay,
correct. So the microbiome actually, it plays into our gut instincts because
what?
so those bacteria are constantly sensing, okay? And humans all have this different, we call it vibe now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all have different vibes, and our microbes actually pick up on that. And so when we're getting those gut feelings about somebody or something, that is coming from a real place of science where those microbes are actually sensing something in the environment or in that person that they're either triggering or they're coding as we like this person or this is a red flag and we don't like this person. our gut bacteria actually does indicate that, and it actually does change based on those interactions. And so you're just really in touch with your gut bacteria. How's that?
I love that because I have like over here
Yeah.
thinking like, is this just woo woo, whatever? But like
No,
you
it's
can
not.
feel it in your body when you know, like you just know, or you're
Yep.
getting more comfortable with the knowing. And I feel like more
Yep.
recently I'm having these gut reactions to things,
Mhm.
like a literal, like physical reaction to interactions.
Yep.
And I'm getting more in tune with them. I'm not as in tune with them as I think I could be,
Mhm.
but like I'm getting much, much better. And it's physical feeling. Like if I was to
Mhm.
describe the physical feeling, it's like,
You
I don't
just know.
know. Yeah, it's like I'm thinking like a
Yep.
weight, like a physical
Yep.
weight, and then you start to feel it in your shoulders, and then it's like tension, and
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 you
I'm
know
gonna
what?
start paying attention to that more.
I bet everyone feels it differently,
Yeah.
and that is a evolutionary thing that we developed. I mean, back in our ancestral days, like, we had to kind of suss out whether this person was gonna, stab us in the back, or whether we were gonna be able to collaborate with some group or other person. Like, this is something that is innate in us, and a lot of people just don't know how to tap into it. A lot of people have it
Mm.
very turned off, and it's just like a muscle. Like, the more that you lean into that and the more that you kind of pay attention to that, the stronger that's going to get, and the more accurate that's going to get as well. And
You're
there is
training
a
your gut biome.
scientific background to it. Yeah, there you are. You really are.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
amazing.
this is phenomenal. It's crazy because I've been hearing that too. It's like the gut is the second brain, and like
Mhm.
your intuition is science based, but like you break it down really nicely, and it makes me feel a lot better because I'm like, am I just making this up?
No.
Is this coming from nowhere? Like, where is this coming from?
Right.
When you feel like, and I feel like I'm in a situation right now where I have to like say no to several opportunities that I feel are great,
Mhm.
but my guts are like, "Mm,"
Yep.
like
Yep.
great opportunities, but the guts is telling me do something else.
Totally.
Um,
No, and
I
I mean,
love that.
it's a good problem to have too if you're flooded with opportunity, but it's important to be able to suss out which ones are going to be the most beneficial. And you just got to have faith that the right opportunity is going to present itself, and you're going to know it at the time, and you're going to take it. I mean, I always say, like, when I started Civ, it was like a coin toss of whether I start a company or not. Like, I was literally it was, like, so close to not happening, because, like, when I first had the thought of doing it, I was like, "Skincare is so saturated, like, there's no way I'm gonna have anything that's, like, really different, like, what am I doing?" Like,
Mhm.
"We don't need to do this. I'm sure there's something out there that will help
Yeah.
me." Okay?
Yeah.
So, when I first thought of it, like, I dismissed it immediately. Like, I was like, no."
Mhm.
And then as time went on, I call it the whispers, like, they just, like,
Mhm.
it kept,
Mhm.
like, coming up, and it was like, "Start it, start it, start it." And I'm like, and then all of a sudden it's, like, screaming, it's like, "Start it." I'm like,
Yes.
"Fine." I'm like, "Alright, do I start it? I guess so." Like, but it was literally such, like, a coin toss, but I knew that if
Mhm.
I started it, I wanted to go, like, full steam, like, let's actually do it? So,
Yeah, like, okay, so how long was that time period when you're like, you had the first thought and then the
yeah.
whispers and the wispies? I'm thinking about Brave, the Disney movie Brave with the little wisps. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but for my Disney
I have
girls,
not seen it, but I'm sure it's great.
there's there's little like orbs and they're called wisps and they're literally like pulling her toward the thing.
Oh my god, amazing. That
And
was
that's
me.
what I imagine.
I was being pulled by
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Yeah, and I really was. When did that start? I probably started to get those in, like, October or, like, November of, like, the previous year. Um,
Mhm.
and then I had bought the Skin IV website in June so
Okay.
it took me, like, the winter to, like, be like, "No, no, 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 no," and then in June, once I bought the website, because it was, like, it was a pretty penny,
Yeah.
that
Yep.
URL.
Yep.
And I was like, "Alright, I'm in. I'm going for it."
Let's do it.
Yeah.
But you like, when I look at your website and your branding and your marketing, like, it makes sense when you said you were I was in PR and marketing. I was like, "Oh, that explains why
Yeah.
everything looks so pristine." Like, you made a luxury brand. Like, when
Mhm.
I look at Civ, when I see all of your content, I'm like, she's going to blow up in like 5 seconds. Like it's happening. Like I see it, and it's an honor to watch, like just this kind of climb that's happening.
Yeah,
What
it's
was that
crazy.
experience like launching a skincare business
It's like
amidst?
it's the most surreal thing ever, to be honest. Like, and thank you for the note on the branding too, because that was very intentional on our end. Because when we looked at the space, the probiotic space, it was very like scientific and like hard lines and like primary
Yeah.
colors. And I'm like, ugh, gross.
Like not us.
No, I was like, I can't be involved with this.
Uh-uh.
So we did the branding very intentionally. So thank you for noticing that. And then
Saw it right away.
the way that it feels is like it's so surreal, and we're able to like I feel like I'm like living someone else's life. Like I'm like I don't know like how this is possible. Like we launched in Vegas like this past year, and it was just like the most like surreal crazy thing. Like all my friends came out. We had like this amazing time, and like I don't know, just to see Siv like out in the wild
Mm-hmm.
from my kitchen, like, it used to be, like, me mixing up the product in my kitchen because I
Yeah.
formulated this in my kitchen, like, literally, like, did research on the ingredients because I was already, like, familiar with the skincare, like, landscape. So, I knew kind of, like, what ingredients, and I wanted the carrier for the spores to be completely invisible, like, on the
Mm-hmm.
skin. I just wanted the spores to act on the skin, and the spores so the main ingredient in the product is a bacillus spore. And
What
so
does that
that's the
mean?
whole thing that's, like, interacting with the skin microbiome. So spores are resilient types of bacteria, and they're naturally found in the soil. And
Hmm.
so if you think back to our ancestors, like, we used to live in the soil. Like, our
Right.
skin recognizes this microbe. They're also found in the ocean to some extent as well. And so they're still kind of floating around in the earth
Mm-hmm.
and, in the air, but we're in this sterile environment so much
Yeah.
that, like, our skin doesn't have interactions with this microbe nearly as much as it used to. And so what we're finding is that this microbe is really beneficial on the skin, and our
Mm.
skin responds very, very well to this microbe. And the unique thing about it is that it's not necessarily the microbe itself that does anything, but it's the way that it interacts with the bacteria that's already on the skin.
Hmm.
So we have a collection of bacteria that kind of makes up how our skin presents, whether it's presenting as oily or dry or inflamed or, flaky or whatever, wrinkly. All of those are contributed to a specific balance of bacteria that's on the skin.
Mm.
And what the bacillus spore is able to do is it's able to go onto the skin and read the microbial signatures and read the ecosystem that's on the skin. And it's able to target if there's any dysbiosis, so anything imbalance. So if there's something that's overgrown that's causing inflammation, like for
Mm-hmm.
example with acne, a lot of
Right.
times it's C. acnes bacteria that's overgrown. It's able to target that and bring it to a healthy level, and then it also helps to facilitate other beneficial strains to grow. So it's encouraging that natural competition because within that ecosystem, in any given ecosystem, you want competition. That's what keeps it in balance, right?
Right.
And so that's what the spore is able to accomplish. We don't see this overabundance of bacillus because we're putting that on the skin. We actually see that at lower levels, and we
Mm.
see other strains being pulled and moved. Which is the most amazing thing, 'cause I
Yeah,
look at
that's
the microbe, like, it's just, like, a ton of bacillus on the skin, and it's like, "Oh, it's good for your skin." No, what it does to the bacteria on the skin is what's good for the skin.
wow. That's why they say play in the dirt, it's good for you. They like actually
Exactly.
meant that.
Exactly, and, like, that's the thing is, like, all of these, like, common tropes that we hear, like, with the
Right.
gut feelings or, like, "Put some dirt on it," you know?
Right, literally.
It's literally because of the bacteria and we just didn't know, like
It's like actually factual. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
isn't that crazy?
How
Um
were you making this in your kitchen? Were you using dirt? Like
So one of my partners, so I found these spores again through a podcast
oh my
because
gosh.
they're used in an oral supplement, right?
Okay.
So they actually interact with the gut microbiome. They work a similar way in the gut microbiome. And I was
Mm.
listening to the founder of this company who kind of put this like spore-based probiotic on the map. He was talking on a podcast. So he, at the end of this podcast, made like a call out and was like, if, I love to bridge the gap between scientific discovery and like commercial product.
Hmm.
And like, he's like, if there's any young entrepreneurs out there, feel free to reach out to me. Like, I love, helping people and blah, blah, blah. And he put his Instagram handle at the end of the show. So I like took him up on it. I messaged
Yeah.
him on Instagram. I DM'd him and I was like, hey.
Yes, I love it.
I was like, I have this idea for your spores. Like, I want to
Mhm.
put them on the skin. Do we have any research or anything that you can like share with me that would tell me if this would work? Like, I don't have a microbiology background and like
Right.
nobody's tested this on the skin before. So he was nice enough to like have a phone call with me and we kind
Mhm.
of talked through some things. And he's like, you know what? Let me send you some spores and you can start formulating with them. So he sent me these like these packets of spores, these samples of spores, and I bought like a tiny little like scale that like people use for weed.
Mhm. Yeah. They're readily available here.
Right? I know, they're everywhere. And I started like measuring out like so I have videos on my Instagram of me like taking the spores and measuring it and putting it on the scale. I made a little like paper funnel that I would like shoot
Oh,
into like my little bottle. I actually
wow.
have like a very like first rev like type of bottle that I did because I bought like Amazon bottles. Like it was just like a
Sure.
little like eyedropper.
Yeah.
And I still have like the OG bottle. So I'm like, oh my gosh.
Are you gonna show
You
are
want
they
me
in
to?
reach?
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
love to see them. That's amazing. Sorry, I know you probably have like a setup. My setup is very particular.
Oh,
And
that's totally okay.
whenever I do my setup, I'm like, don't move the chair.
That
Because
is
it's an
totally okay. Repping Civ as always.
Hey.
Okay, so this was the first bottle,
Oh
and you
my
can still see that like bacillus in there at the
god.
bottom.
What? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
you like shake it up really hard, then it would start to change color and get more brown.
Oh my goodness. So
But yeah,
like did you just test
this
on
was the first
yourself?
label too. This was like I made stickers
Oh my goodness.
and I had them
Started from
shipped.
the bottom, now we here.
For each one. Now these are stuck together, which is cute, but
Ah, not like I'm in awe. So like I'm trying to picture you in your kitchen, just
Mhm.
like doing science. Like you're literally like I'm
Yeah,
correct in saying that you are a scientist
like,
and
kind of.
you are. Um, and so like how did you get from point A to point B? Like, were you testing the product on yourself? Were you testing it on friends? Like, how did you
I was
know when it worked?
I was so the concentration of bacteria I talked to the microbiologist on, who's now my partner, by the way. He's my
Ah,
full-on business partner.
I love this for you.
Amazing, right? And he's like the most amazing person ever. Like he's so smart, like probably the smartest person I've met. Like there's still to this day I haven't given him a question that stumped him yet.
I
Like,
mean, what a like just a testament to you to be like, hi, you presented this opportunity, you followed your gut,
yep,
obviously.
yep.
I don't know how quickly you messaged him, but it was probably like close to immediate.
That day, like, yeah, I definitely
And then here you are with your he's your business partner now. And like that is a real thing that happens, obviously. And for those of us that are watching, like never discount the magnitude of a DM and how far
truly.
that could really go. Or
Yep.
just asking the question, like, can I? Am I allowed to? Are we able like can we do a thing? Because obviously your gut biome is
Right?
telling
It's
you that
telling
it's
you,
okay to do it.
telling you. No, it's
Oh
so
my goodness.
true, and that's one of my, like, main things that I do try and tell people is, like, it doesn't hurt to ask, like, it doesn't hurt, like, literally one idea, one DM, one whatever can literally change the course of your life, and that's how I feel, like, when you ask me, like, "How does it feel to have this launch?" And I said, "It feels like I'm living someone else's life," it's like because this was literally just, like, it wasn't this big, like, grand scheme of, like, "I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this." It was, like, it was one choice, multiple choices, but, like, at those moments, one choice
Mhm.
that continued to, like, lead me down this path of, like,
Mhm.
this life that I never thought that I would have.
Right.
And it's like it's the most like surreal and like amazing thing to experience. But it's,
So
you know,
happy.
looking back, like a lot of people maybe think that all these like very successful people like had this like huge plan and blah blah blah, and it's like all in like the grand working and the grand scheme. But like as you're doing it day to day, it just feels like a series of small choices that now are like accumulating into this like really amazing experience or an
Mm.
amazing thing.
I love
So
that. It's such a great perspective, and it's the reality. Like, and I
yeah.
feel like from the outside looking in, you see someone successful and you're just like, it just happened for them. This just happened for
Mhm,
them. And it's like, no, they've
mhm.
been putting in the daily work, those
Yeah,
daily decisions, those daily risks, those little moments are so much a part of the big moment. Like
totally.
when you see a mountain, it's a bunch of tiny little rocks just stacked on top of
Yep.
each other,
And
you
it's true,
know?
and, like, especially in the beginning of the business, like, as I was building it, you know, before he was really involved, every day I would think to myself, like, "How can I move the business forward? Like, what's one thing that I can do?" Because I was still working full-time up until this
Yeah.
January, and so I was building, like 2 years of this was me working full-time and then also doing this. And every day I would like think to myself, like, how can I move the business forward? What's one thing that I can do that will move the business forward? And that was like really how it got built in the beginning was
Mm,
just like me trying to like isolate things that would actually make a difference in the business and not just like kind of like busy work, like not just like, oh, what colors am I gonna do? Or like what is
yeah.
this? Like, you know, it was
Yeah.
really isolating like these things that maybe seemed small but actually made a big difference in the business.
What do you feel like is the difference between something like busy work and like moving the business forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say so you need to look at the things that you need in order to operate the business. So like you need sales, you need
Mhm.
customers, you need ingredients, you need you know, like the bones of the thing, the stuff that's not as sexy, right?
Mhm.
Because it's
Mhm.
really fun to like look at like colors and
And
branding
fonts.
and like
Yeah.
marketing and like, oh my God, like it would be so cool to have Civ in here and it would be cool to have Civ in here and like big picture, like you know, strategy stuff, and there is a time for that, but
Yeah.
if you have a product, you can't strategize where you wanna put it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you need to,
Right.
like, actually develop the product and make the contacts and kind of research within the market, you know, who are your competitors? Like, what's the landscape of the market look like? Like, who are we going against? What kind of
Mhm.
pricing should I be looking at? Like, what kind of manufacturing am I doing? You know, thinking about scaling, thinking about
Mhm.
things that are gonna, um bring you the resources in order to grow the business into what you want it to be. So
Mm.
that's product, that's sales, that's, you know, customers, pipeline, that kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, Whereas like looking for like marketing opportunities where you're going to spend X amount of money to try and get a product out there that isn't fully flushed out would make no sense.
Mhm.
You know? But that's more fun when you're like, well, I
It's
want to be
fun.
an
Yeah.
Instagram, and it's like, well, you're not ready though.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I get caught in that a lot too. Like I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
let's do this." And then
It's
so
hard not
one of
especially as
somebody
the
told
creator
me,
because, like, you're doing everything, so it just all feels
yeah,
like something,
it
you know?
all feels important. At
Exactly.
the moment, in the moment, it all feels
Mhm,
like a thing, like a tab for the to do, and so
mhm,
it's like, okay, well, if I'm picking the colors or whatever the case may be, it's like, oh, I'm
mhm.
ticking a box, but is it the right order of boxes? And I
Right,
feel like that's where I'm at right now. Like yesterday, I started the Tech Town Retail Boot Camp, and we were
Mhm,
talking about this. Literally, we were talking about if those of you are feeling like you need more of this kind of work, we talked about the business model canvas, and it talks about like your customer segment, your value proposition,
mhm.
your cost structure, your revenue streams, all of that stuff. And that's literally what we're doing right now. And I'm like, this is the work I should have been doing 5 years ago, but
Right,
I was busy doing the busy work because
right.
it felt sexy, it felt fun, but
Yep.
I needed to do it in this order
Mhm.
because this is how it happened, this is how it unfolded. I can't
Totally,
go backwards. But
totally.
like, I love that you're saying it because
No,
it's
and
it's a real thing.
yeah, totally, and there's something to be said, though, too, about, you know, doing it in that order because you have to stay enchanted with it. If somebody told
Mhm.
you, like, you need to do this, you need to dive into the books, and then you need to develop the product, and then you need to go down a rabbit hole of manufacturing. You'd be like, then I'm not starting. Like, I'm not doing it then, like,
right.
no. So you work at your own pace, but also be aware that there are other things that maybe before this fully gets flushed out, we need to flush out something else,
Yes. And you're coming from the product perspective, and I'm coming from a
Yeah.
service perspective. So from like the service side, you need to be actively doing the service. Like and most of us that are service-based businesses, you probably already are doing the service, which is why you're thinking I should probably do this as a business anyway. So some of that stuff, like, and from a service-based business for perspective, like, you should just be out there taking clients, even if you don't have the revenue structure down, even if you don't have the cost structure down, like, that is the research. That is the research. That's, you're developing the product. You are like, you can't really manufacture a service if it's coming from you, but you can work on the product by offering the product and doing it and doing it and doing it again and making changes and making shifts and all of that good stuff. Because, they're two different models, but even from the like, so I want to ask more questions from the product-based business. Like, now you're in several salons, right? And spas.
Yeah.
So how did you get from like, I'm doing this in my kitchen to the manufacturing route? Because I feel like I know a lot of people that are teetering that line between like, I'm making this at home and I'm ready to scale, but like, how do you do that?
Yeah, that was one of our biggest challenges, was finding the right manufacturer, finding the right partner, especially with the ingredient that we had. So for beauty brands, there's lots of smaller like manufacturers that will kind of take you like soup to nuts all the way to a finished product, which is amazing. And I love those brands because they are geared towards startups. And they don't cost an arm and a leg to, you're going to need some upfront capital, but it's not like crazy amount. And so those are great. And really the way that we found our manufacturer, like I was just like Googling, calling. And this is the point that I had gotten told no, like so many times. Like I called so many manufacturers, and either they had like quantities that were like, okay, yeah, we can do it, but you'll need to do like 500,000 bottles. And I'm like, that's like literally insane. That was
Not
literally
realistic,
the quote that I got, was 500,000 bottles. I'm like, cool. So I'll just bankrupt my life and have product for 20 years. So I got a lot of that, or these smaller spots, they didn't want to work with bacillus because it's a bacteria that it's hard to kill, which is why it's great in the formula, right? But it's not great in their machines. And they would be a whole like extra cleaning process. And these are cosmetic manufacturers, and nobody's ever used bacillus in a cosmetic formula. It's mainly used as like a food preservative or in a probiotic supplement. So it's not in usually a liquid carrier. And so that was a unique challenge for us. And what ended up happening was there was like kind of an industry contact that we were able to secure just through like networking, really. And like putting it out there, like, hey, I'm looking for this. I need this. Does anybody have anyone that might be interested or would be able to do this? And so that's how we found our guys. And they're out in California. And so, yeah, it's really just, it's Googling the way, like I built a lot of the business off of Google and Med. And like, when you asked earlier, like, how did you educate yourself? Like NCBI journals and just like reading and listening to podcasts. Like we have so much information that's available to us. Like we can literally do anything. Like it is the most amazing time to be alive, because Google is like, the internet is scary, but it's also like the most amazing thing. It's the best for self-starters. It's the best for entrepreneurs. It's like your best resource that you could possibly have.
I love that. And then your energy towards it, and your willingness to be able to like sift through the shit realistically. Like, and it seems like you're really good at that. Like I'm self-diagnosed ADD, like, and like the research part is really challenging for me and I have a hard time with that. But that's why I surround myself with other people who are good at that,
Yeah,
because
totally.
I'm not like, I'm big vision, big picture, like
Mhm.
quick moving kind of energy. So when
Yeah,
somebody's like, you need to do some research, you need to research a competition, I'm like, why?
I
Can
know.
somebody else do that for me? You know,
And
like,
it's stressful too because you're like, I don't want to see this. Like they're doing a good job. I
yes,
got to see
yes,
with
but
this.
also it's an important part. And so
Oh
for
yeah,
those of us that are feeling like apprehensive about that, like you don't have to be the one to do it. You can
right.
find a partner that could help you with that
Hmm.
and that's in alignment with the mission, which I
Totally.
love that you found your partner on Instagram, like on a
Yep.
podcast.
Hmm.
Like
Yep. Yeah.
amazing.
And yeah, it was a whole thing. And like move and then so moving from the kitchen, we also had to find a different bottle because if
Right.
you'll notice, like this is not the bottle that we use.
Nope.
And that was like a whole thing too. But again, it's just research. Like it was literally we actually found them on Instagram. We got an ad because
Okay.
I had an idea of what kind of bottle that I wanted. I didn't want a traditional dropper. I wanted something that was direct application to the face.
Yeah.
So this is the bottle now.
It's beautiful.
Um, but yeah, you like shake it up and you use this to drop it onto the skin. So
Oh.
that's the top, and you would just drop it using that
Beautiful.
button. Yeah.
Oh.
So
Okay.
it's
So like
innovative bottle too.
who can use this product? Because it feels like I remember when we were talking like just at Bamboo one day and you were talking about how you're like focused on estheticians right now and like skin experts, but like who could and should be using this product?
Yeah, so it's really meant for everybody, like
Mhm.
from any age, so children to aging. Because as we age, actually, our skin microbiome goes through a series of changes that kind of contribute to those signs of aging and also early aging.
Okay.
So, depending on the balance of bacteria that you have, your barrier can start to erode a little faster. And that starts to then result in more dehydrated skin, and that is where you start to see that crepey like wrinkles kind of start to
Mhm.
pop up.
Mhm.
That's a result of a weakened barrier, and the barrier is influenced heavily by that bacteria because the bacteria can eat away at the barrier.
Mm.
And so any age can use it. I mentioned my background was in pediatrics, right? So
Mhm.
they can use it if they have some kind of eczema or something going on at that level. And then, if you have some kind of inflammatory condition, that's really like kind of the crux of what we're able to help with. So whether that be acne or dermatitis, psoriasis, scalp psoriasis, you can put it in your hairline too.
Hmm.
A lot of people doing that. Scalp psoriasis is really, really common now,
Yeah.
um, which is something that I kind of want to look into as well because I'm like,
Yeah, now you got to make hair care products.
yeah, like I've been hearing a lot about that. Um,
Yeah.
and I wonder kind of if it's all this like Accutane use, but that's a whole other
Mm.
segment. Um,
Okay, so as
so,
someone who has like
yeah.
fallen into not the trap, but like the trope of like I need my moisturizer, my vitamin C, I need my sunscreen, I need my and
Hmm.
like how what advice do you have for us? Because I feel like I'm falling deeper and deeper into the trap of like you need more products like to make
Hmm.
your skin
Right.
more
Hmm.
beautiful, whatever. Like
Well,
that's the reality.
what I would say is if you enjoy skincare and you are happy with the way your skin looks, there's nothing wrong with a long routine if you want to do that.
Yeah.
If you're unhappy and you're feeling signs of sensitivity, so if you have like unexplained redness, or
Yeah.
if something that you put on that, a moisturizer that doesn't have any actives, if that's burning,
Mm.
that's a problem. It should not
Yeah.
burn.
Yeah.
If you're having like rosacea like symptoms, if you see these like capillaries kind of popping out, or,
What's a
you know,
capillary?
it's like a little like red kind of you see them a lot around your nose
Okay.
sometimes, but it's like a red kind of wiry looking thing under the skin.
Mm.
Um, those are all signs of a barrier that is weakened and holding on by a thread.
Mm.
And your skin My advice to them would be you need to focus on nourishing the skin as opposed to exfoliating it. So nourishing and protecting it. So you're going to want to use products that put up a shield on the skin. So, or hydrating products. And so what, my recommendation is a nourishing cleanser. So maybe like an oil cleanser of some sort. Double cleansing with an oil cleanser is fine. SIV, which to be honest, there is no substitute for this. It's not a product that I would say it's like, oh, think of it as XYZ. It's totally different. It sets the foundation on your skin. It's pretty much like a vitamin for your skin. And it's setting that homeostatic foundation that allows other products to kind of work better on the skin. Because, I didn't realize this until I actually made a product, but when you're making a product, you're thinking about it on a canvas, being, the canvas being your skin, that's not compromised, right? So many of these products are formulated on a canvas that is at the correct pH level, and it has the correct ceramides in there, and it has the correct structure going on. And it, so that's a big piece of it. The closer that you can get your skin to that canvas that product has then been tested on, and those claims that it makes, have been proven and based on, the better that product will work on you, because it's going to be closest to that canvas that the product was essentially designed on and for.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah, totally. So like if I was using SIV, the product, what would my routine look like? Like evenings and mornings. Like I'm just going to ask, because when do I ever get this opportunity? And this is what we all want to know.
Yeah. So I would say, so we recommend to use SIV once a day at night. That's because like that's when your microbiome is kind of repairing. That's when your body repairs. And so if there's any kind of dysbiosis going on, use it at night. It works the best. You can use it in the morning if you would like, as more of like a shield kind of thing, because our skin's coming in contact with a lot of different stressors and things like that. And so it does help to kind of curb some of that dysbiosis that might happen throughout the day. But we do only recommend to use it once a day. So morning or night, whatever you decide. So the routine would look like you would do your cleanse, and then on your clean skin, keep it like slightly damp. And then you would drop a couple drops of SIV on and do your SIV. And the reason we say to do it slightly damp, it is an oil carrier, but what's happening with the oil in the water, it's creating a bit of an emulsion on the skin. And so
what does an emulsion mean?
So an emulsion is when you combine oil and water. So you can do a process of doing like oil inside a water molecule, or you can do a water in oil emulsion where the water is inside the oil molecule.
Okay.
And that just kind of changes how that ingredient is delivered to the skin. So water in oil is better on a more sebaceous area like the face, because that oil, sebaceous is like oil glands basically. So that oil then can seep into the skin more quickly, and then that water-based ingredient that's inside there is able to penetrate deeper into the barrier. Does that make sense? So the oil is kind of a better carrier in order to get it into the skin if it's a water-based ingredient. So the water is inside. It's almost like a Trojan horse. Like the oil is like the Trojan horse, and then that water-based thing is like what's inside, and it's gonna like help the barrier from deeper inside. Where water sits more on the surface of the skin in a area like that. And so
thank you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I love these
I know. I'm like, tell me more.
Yeah. No, it's like, it's really fun for me. And so, it's creating that, and it's allowing that bacillus to then kind of sit more on the skin and interact with the skin microbiome better. So that's why we say to do it a little bit damp when you put it on.
Okay.
So after that, then if you want to use, so if we're talking the morning, you're cleansing, you're putting SIV on, if you want to do it in the morning. And then if you want to do some kind of like serum, so some people will do like a hyaluronic acid serum, which is totally fine. Or if you want to, you can use SIV with any product. So if you want to use it with an exfoliating acid, you can absolutely do that. If you are experiencing sensitivity and you're using SIV because of that, I would not put an exfoliating acid on there. just because you want your skin to kind of heal first. So you can do, you know, a hyaluronic acid, or you can do a vitamin C. I mean, those are great for your skin.
Yeah.
But serum, optional, you know, you don't have to do that. After that, moisturizer. So I like a nice, like, nourishing moisturizer. So like I like La Roche-Posay. I like CeraVe. CeraVe sometimes, you know, breaks me out a little bit, but if you can handle it, it's a great building moisturizer to then help your ceramides to get back to healthy levels. Good product. But yeah, La Roche-Posay, CeraVe. I even like the Dr. Jenny's Gross, like hydrogel, kind of for more like oily skin. That's a really good one. Face Reality products are great. So moisturizer and then SPF. So
Okay.
3 things that you're putting on after your cleanse. Right.
And then you go like primer, makeup as normal.
Absolutely.
Okay. Beautiful. And then at night?
Yeah, at night, you know, not much changes. If you want to do some kind of slight exfoliation at night, that would be okay. To kind of get, you know, some of the dead skin cells off, but you know, increase cell turnover. If you're using a retinol, which you're probably being recommended a retinol. You said you're on Age Skin TikTok, so I'm sure retinols are popular on it. If you're using a retinol, which retinol is good for your skin. I mean, I recommend a retinol too. If you can tolerate it. Use that at night, and then use your SIV first, and then use your retinol, and then your moisturizer.
Is that the most streamlined? Like, let's talk lazy girl. Like, I'm a lazy girl. I don't want to do all the this and that. I want to keep it easy. I want to keep it quick. I also want to keep it affordable. So like, and when I think of lazy girl, I don't think like necessarily lazy, but like also like just let's just cut the bullshit. What would that routine look like?
That would be cleanse, SIV, and then SPF.
In the morning.
And
then
at night, cleanse, SIV, moisturizer.
Beautiful.
That's
my goodness.
Yeah.
We're already at an hour. How did that even happen? Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
I have so many more questions. We're gonna have to do a part 2 because like
we can definitely do that.
It's so like it's overwhelming how much is out there. And I feel like so many people are just like, okay, I got this information from this person and this information from this place. And they're just kind of like Mod Podging this like skincare regimen into this thing. And next thing you know, you have like 25 products and you're like, what's the order? Is it wrong? Like, am I doing this in the right order? Am I like, do I have to do it this way? When should I use this? When should I take this out? And like,
totally. The order is a big thing too, because the order does get confusing. You're supposed to layer like thinnest to thickest. Okay. But then there's also like a part of like, so that's like the general rule is the thinnest viscosity or the thinnest consistency to the thickest. Okay. And then, but there's also like, if there's oil in the product, like you're supposed to put the water-based products on first because of that emulsification process that we talked about. So the water-based products first, let them absorb, and then the oil, because the oil can create a bit of a barrier over the skin. So if you're putting like a heavy oil on and then you try and put like a water-based moisturizer on over that moisturizer is not going to get into your skin because that oil is creating that barrier for you. So it kind of depends on like what it's made of. It is confusing. And that's part of the reason though why we partnered with estheticians, because we know that it's confusing, but estheticians they're very accessible and they're able to break this down very easily for the client. So they know exactly what's going on the skin. They know what the client's triggers are. They know the routines that they're on. They know the supplements that they're on. I mean, have you ever gotten like an in-depth facial?
I have once, and she was a student, and I love her to death. She's amazing. She was a makeup artist and she was training to be an esthetician. It was still while she was in school. And when I tell you my face had never broke out worse in my life, like,
oh boy,
hair, hair, and usually I'll get some like spotting in this area, which is like very normal for me. It was everywhere. It was like like all over, and
she had a bad reaction.
A really, really, really bad reaction. So that was like the only time. And then I've been too scared like to go back and try it again.
No, I understand that. And like those experiences can be really scarring. that can be really scaring.
Yeah.
Especially like they're dealing with what probably happened was she did a very strong exfoliant on you, and it probably
Mhm.
just brought so much to the surface at once that
Mm.
your face was like, "What is going on?" And it
Literally,
started
like,
freaking
it
out.
was it was I've never seen my face when you were saying, like, "This is not my face," it
Yeah.
literally felt like that, and I just, like, hid inside for, like, until it
Yep.
calmed down, because it
Yep.
was also painful, and I
Yes.
was living in Texas at the time,
Yep.
middle of summer, so it's like, "Hi, sun," like, it was, like so
Mhm.
after
Mhm.
that,
Oh
I've
my
been
god.
too scared. I'm too
Yeah.
scared.
No, I understand. I totally understand that. And like, each esthetician, I'm learning this as we're like building the brand. Each esthetician has a very different like philosophy. So like depending on the brands that they kind of align with, you can kind of tell what their like philosophy would be.
Mhm.
Where like some are a little more harsh and then some are a little more like nourish based. But all that to say,
Yeah.
estheticians are extremely knowledgeable on the skin,
Mhm.
and they know, when you have that kind of in-depth consultation. So if you go to an esthetician and say, I want to start like your acne boot camp, they're going to put you
Okay.
through like a whole series of like questions of like, okay, what's your daily diet? What supplements are you taking? Send me
Mm.
every supplement and let me go through the ingredient list. What's your lifestyle? How much do you exercise? What's the climate that you live in? Do you have mold
Mm.
in your house? Are you like they put you through this whole
We did not
question
do that.
trying right. So like this was kind of like a one-handed like treatment that you went in
Yeah.
for and like
Just to hook her
so
up because she
yeah,
needed faces to work on
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, so, like, that was not my experience. So, okay,
totally.
as someone who has been scarred,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah,
like, how do you even go to find the right esthetician? Like, you
yeah.
have a lot more experience with that than I do.
That's a great question. So I would recommend, a lot of them have Instagrams,
Mhm.
and I would say go to their Instagram, look at their before and afters, look at the products that they're using. Many of them will link to their, like, store front that they
Mhm.
have of the products that they use, and a lot of them will have posts on their philosophy, and they will talk about, why they believe certain things or why they won't do certain things. Like, some
Mm.
estheticians won't do dermaplaning, which is, like,
Mhm.
removal of the hair,
Yep.
because it's too harsh on the skin. And they're like,
Mm.
you're removing all of these like layers of skin that you actually need.
Mm.
Where others are like, dermaplaning is a must. We're getting rid of that. And then we're going to
Yeah.
exfoliate you after. And then you're going to
Yep.
walk out of here like
Baby fresh
glowing, but
skin.
also very red.
Yeah.
Hairless
Yeah.
like a cat, but red.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally.
Like a seal. A cat. Cats have hair. Isabel. Okay.
I know what you
Anyways,
mean. I got it. I got it. I saw
Siamese,
it in my
right? I
brain.
think a
Yeah.
Siamese cat is hairless. Okay.
I I think I don't know what they're actually called, but I just hear them called hairless cats. But I knew. I was
Okay.
like, I
All right.
pictured it.
Good. Amen. So, yeah, so I would say really Instagram is a good tool to use. And then honestly, going in like for a consultation without a treatment, many of them would be happy to do that because
Yeah.
they really, really care about the skin and like your experience in the chair and having that
Yeah.
that kind of procedure done. So
Yeah.
there's lots of really great ones out there, I will say. They're very, very talented.
Mhm.
And that's another surreal thing too, is to see Civ in that context of like
Yeah.
these incredible, very talented professionals doing their thing, and then they use Civ in their treatments and as a take
Yeah.
home, and then to see these before and afters is like mind blowing. Like I'm like, I cannot believe that something I created like helped with this. Like that is
Mhm.
the most amazing thing ever.
I love that. I love that. Oh, I'm so proud of you. I feel so like I need to try the product now and
Yeah.
just see if I just need to ditch everything I've been doing. Not, not start from scratch, but
Right.
add to the top. But
Well,
it's
you
exciting.
off camera, you can tell me your routine and I'll give you my opinion on it.
Okay, it's chaotic right now. Like
Okay.
I just I was
You're like,
doing
"I have
something
nothing
very
short of
like
funny products."
it was very like normal. It was very like minimal normal. I used CeraVe products and like
Yeah.
Cetaphil and stuff like that. And then I went down this TikTok and I got and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna get this.
Yeah.
And then it all showed up and I was like, did
Yeah.
I? And now I feel like I'm having flare-ups and I'm like, okay, well, now I need to figure
Yeah.
out which product it was because I added so much
Yeah.
bullshit to my routine. So,
Okay. Well, I can give you my advice right now then. Take everything out and go back to bare minimum for 2 weeks and
okay.
see. And then you can take your favorites, add one product in, and do
Okay.
that for a couple weeks, see if you have a reaction. If you don't, add another one back in and go from there.
Okay. Yeah, they were like, you need to use, and this was like on like aging skin talk. It was like, you need to use like an under eye oil and a face
Mm,
oil, and everything needs to be oil based. And all your, and I transitioned a bunch of my makeup over too. I'm trying it out literally
mhm,
like last week and this week is like all cream based makeup
uh-huh,
instead of powder based makeup. So
uh-huh,
I'm giving that a try. And I'm like,
okay,
okay, not that my skin is like aging aggressively. I'm
right,
aware of it,
mhm,
so I'm like, okay, like how can I like lean into it and make the process more seamless and
yeah,
just
yep.
participate in it instead of being like, buy it.
Listen, the best thing that you can do for aged skin or aging skin, especially like you're at the perfect age for this too, is to start on a retinol. Start on a
Okay.
gentle retinol. Like Dr. Dennis Gross makes a great retinol. Start on
Okay.
that and start doing it every other day because it can be
Hmm.
hard to tolerate. But
Yeah.
yeah, get rid of those other like actives and hit the retinol and
What
that's
does the
I think
retinol
that's great.
do?
So retinol actually helps to increase skin cell turnover. And so as we age, so it helps to thicken the epidermis, which is the top layer of skin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so you'll see an improvement in like texture of the skin. It also helps to ward off acne and it's helping to kind of get rid of those dead skin cells. So as we age, we accumulate more dead skin cells and that
Yeah.
starts to it's a process that's called senescence. So skin cell
Mm.
senescence. And that's where zombie cells essentially who don't die all the way
Yeah.
they stay in the skin. So once a skin cell dies, it's supposed to come to the surface and then we shed it off and we get rid of it and it's replaced by a new healthy cell.
Mm.
Senescent cells, though, are not like completely dead. They're like kind of dead, but they're not completely dead and they don't
Mhm.
leave the barrier. They stay there.
Mm.
And so you have these like kind of dead clump of cells, and then they're extra devious because they infect the cells around them. And so
Oh,
it starts to spread. And they are
wow.
a huge key driver of aging. And so there's a couple brands out there. Young Goose is a fantastic one. We actually have a deal with them, like a kit with them.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
They have an amazing routine. I will say
Okay.
it's gentle, it's nourishing, and it's anti-aging.
Uh,
And then, also another brand is called One Skin, and they
mhm.
discovered this peptide of the skin, that helps to target senescent cells and get rid of them, and they're really fantastic for anti-aging as well.
Amazing. I'm gonna just have to be like every time I buy any skincare products, I'm gonna be like,
Run it
Belle,
by
is this
me.
is this acceptable? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just, I might just like transition over to like whatever you suggest, like the whatever package you have, like
Yeah,
put it in the cart because your girl doesn't have the brains to
right.
like figure out the skincare stuff. Like I can do
It's
all
just
the
too
other
much.
things, but
I
like
mean, it's not
it's too
even yeah,
much. It's
yeah,
too much for me, and I feel like I'm getting caught in these skincare traps. And I'd
yeah.
rather be able to say like, oh, I could just like walk over to your desk and be like, is this good? What do you
Yeah,
think of this?
totally.
And so like slide into her DMs, whatever.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I'm always down to help.
Oh, you're amazing. Okay, so last two things.
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice you would give out there to our listeners, whether they be like entrepreneurs, interested in skincare, XYZ? Like, what is your last piece of nugget knowledge?
Well, I would say, take the first step. Like, don't be afraid to do that one thing. Don't be afraid to send off that DM. Like, don't be afraid to believe in that idea that you have. If it's calling to you and you can't forget about it, do it. Like, one blank, fill in the blank will change your life. Like that's absolutely possible and like you have all the resources that you need, especially with the internet and everything to go out and do it and just start and do it. So that coupled with follow your gut, follow your
Yep.
gut and do what you need to do.
I
Listen to your
love it.
microbes.
Listen to your gut biome. Yes.
Right?
Okay, final question. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so you can find me so our Instagram is at SIV Care, so SIVCARE. So I run the Instagram, DM me, you know, ask me your questions, whatever. I'm also on Instagram, like personally. So I am Isabel Vitale at on Instagram, and then our website is sivcare.com.
Thank you so much for coming today. This has been
Oh,
so insightful.
yeah.
So like I knew I was going to be coming to talk to a scientist. I was like, okay, I got to put my like thinking cap on because
Oh my God. Your
Isabel's going
questions
to.
were amazing. You
Oh,
queued me up perfect.
thank you. I appreciate you so, so much. And everybody out there, thank you guys for joining us. Check out Siv on Instagram. She's blowing up. She's got all these reels about a lot of this stuff, which have been
Yeah.
really fun to watch. So if you want to learn more about skincare, check out Isabel on SIV Care on Instagram. And thank you guys all again for joining us on the Let's Glow show. It's Amanda Sweet, the Creative Fairy Godmother, and we'll see you next week with another creative entrepreneur. See you later.